Excellent. It's all yours.
Yeah. Okay.
Just air.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's still awake. I guess we saved the best for last, right? Can I pick this off here? Yeah. I kind of like to walk around. I'm a little hyper, but I'm pretty excited about this project. So actually, a really great segue after Beard's talk. I'm sure that's why you put it in this order on the agenda. The name of the project is quite long, and that's because there's kind of a lot of moving parts in the project. But basically it's a collaborative effort between a bunch of different entities, Douglas County, Douglas High School, River Wranglers, who does a lot of the environmental education in the Carson River watershed, who there is a new, you wear the shirt, supposed to talk to you. And then Carson Water Sub-Conservancy District, and we did have Nevada Rural Water Association. That person and that position has since moved on, so that's going to get a little more complicated, but that was kind of the catalyst for this project. Is she was dealing with a lot of source water protection. She asked me if there was any projects in Douglas County that I could think of that she could partner with me on. And as if you can see in the photo on the cover here, we do have a pretty substantial algae bloom in the East Fork of the Carson River. It's adjacent to this Westwood neighborhood, which in my next slide, I'll show you a map to kind of show you where that's at, but it's in Minden, Nevada. And it's been there for a number of years. The USGS actually did a whole report on it 12 years ago. Well, it was a while back. And they didn't come to very many conclusions as far as what was causing it. They kind of just assumed it was groundwater. But I wanted to investigate it a little bit further, because if you actually walk into the river, you can see the storm drain outfall pipe. It discharges right there, and then the algae bloom is right there. And so it makes you think there's got to be some land uses that might maybe contributing to the cost of it. And so that's kind of what this project is here to investigate. So I'll go through the whole project and then give you a little bit of update on where we are in it. And then Chuck and Gary, I'm hoping that this presentation can be in lieu of my quarterly report. Yes, it's being recorded, so I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I had to ask the question, you know, my plate's pretty full. Okay, so I know this isn't super zoomed out, but right here is Highway 88, and then this is 395. So right here at that kind of main intersection, if anyone's been down to Minden, that's where the project is located. You can see the East Fork Carson River is here. All of these houses here, that's the Westwood neighborhood that I was referencing. And then there's a little bit of commercial area too. There's a hotel, some restaurants, and then Douglas High School is there as well. So I figured we should include them too. So we did a little bit of reconnaissance, figured out where all the storm drain system comes from. There is drop inlets in the high school parking lot, from the football field, baseball fields, all of that stuff, which go into a drop inlet, which then connects to the neighborhood storm drain system and then discharges out to the river. So there's a lot of different land uses that are happening in the area that could be contributing to this. And so we decided to kind of put together a bigger project and try to apply for a grant through NDP. So I'm basically going to go through all the different tasks that we have and kind of give you an update on where we are on all of them. So outlining the main problem, you know, we've got this algae bloom, you know, we've got residential land use, we've got the high school, which is a lot of parking, a lot of green grass, and then all the storm drains, as I said, go directly to the river. We do have commercial and open space. There actually is ag land on the other side of the river too, which kind of ties into what Barry was talking about. This project isn't focusing so much on that. It's more about the urban area. Douglas County is really kind of an interesting place to work. Historically, the ranchers kind of get a lot of incentives. They get a pass on a lot of the things because of the open space they provide, the floodplain protection they provide. And so we're not focusing on that as heavily in this project, although I do believe that you know, there are probably some impacts to that. I've been on the park ranch. It is fenced off. There's a barbed wire fence, so I know the cattle can't get into the river in that location. but there could still be an impact coming from that. So that, I'm just acknowledging that. And then also the maintenance practices, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, they need improvement. I manage the stormwater maintenance staff for Douglas County. This particular location is located within the town of Minden. Now, I'm not trying to throw the town of Minden under the bus by saying that they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They have a little sweeper truck, they clean the drop inlets, but you need a backer truck to really flush those lines and clean all of the pollutants out of there. And I know that that is not happening. So they're a partner in this project as well to see if there's a way that the county can work with them to kind of improve some of those. So that's one of our objectives, is to improve the municipal maintenance operations. And then we also want to work with the school district grounds maintenance staff to see what types of fertilizers they're using, what are their water use practices, and is there any improvement that could happen with those. We're also working with the residents in the community. That's an objective in this grant. The neighborhood is quite nice. If you ever take a drive through it, it's really nicely maintained properties. Most of them have lawn. There also is a big, huge park in the middle of the neighborhood that's all lawn. I mean, what is it, like a couple acres probably of grass, it's huge. And so we really wanted to educate them on kind of conservation landscaping, what kind of fertilizers are the best to use? Are there opportunities to eliminate grass in any areas? Are you using the correct amount of fertilizer? Is it running off and going into the storm drain? Those are all things that we're kind of working on educating the community on. At the high school, I'll talk about the storm drain system there. And there's actually opportunity to do a low impact development project around that drop inlet to actually kind of filter some of the runoff that's coming off the fields, which may also have an impact. And then just increasing overall storm drain awareness. We want to mark each of those drop inlets in the Westwood neighborhood with storm drain medallions that say no dumping drains to river. People might not know that the river is really close to there. So a lot of people think that it's treated beforehand, but if we can at least do that, draw their attention to the drop inlet, and maybe notice that when they're walking their dog or something. So here's kind of how the system works. There's drop inlets here. That's the football field. It's actually artificial turf. Those are the medallions that we want to place. That's the outfall to the river. And then obviously drop inlets like that from the street, and it all leads to that location. There's actually 3 different spots where it discharges. That's probably the most growth area. So we have 4 main tasks in the grant. The first one is the maintenance management planning and implementation, and that's where we're working with the town of Minden and the high school. We're not going to just single out town of Minden since that's where the project location is. The town of Garberville has the same exact maintenance issues going on, so we might as well work with them too. So we've included them in this too, and see if there's opportunities for the county to partner with that town as well. Not that you can tell where Garberville ends and Minden starts, but it's all one big area. And then of course always the Carson Water Conservancy District, because they're always such a wonderful provide such great project support, partnership, match, and I've worked with them for so many years that so anytime we can find an opportunity to hang out, we do. All right, so task number 2, so that's basically addressing the maintenance system of the storm drains with the partners for task 1. Task 2 is, this is probably the biggest portion of the project, low impact development, planning, and implementation. So like if you look at this drop inlet right here, that's the one that's on the high school grounds, and it's all just bare soil. So whatever's running off the fields and everything ends up just going right there. And so we might actually ask for some help, Chuck, and see if we can get some healthier soil here if it's not looking too good. But we're hoping that we can work with students to design and implement an LED project that can filter the runoff that's coming off the high school fields in this area. And so I've spent quite a bit of time in high school lately, and wow, teachers don't get paid enough. You can pay me $1 million and I would not be a high school teacher. No way. It's so gnarly. Anyways, this is another one of those DIs. That's an example of, something that you could do to create a buffer to kind of filter the water. So we've talked with several different classes, and it's really hard to get it full of teachers. They're so busy all the time, especially high school students. They have so many students. They have so many trainings that they have to do. They have so many responsibilities that it's really hard to get in touch with anybody to try to make a connection to see who wants to participate in this really cool project, I think, where you can hit all the standards. I'll teach your kids. I just need you to help me figure out how they should be involved and how that can help you accomplish your job and maybe take a little bit off your plate, not add to it. So luckily, my best friend is an English teacher there. You would think English, how the heck is English gonna have anything to do with water quality? Yeah, weird. Well, we found a way. So the English class is gonna participate. They're actually doing the outreach for the project. They're writing about it. It's a really cool project. It's even cooler if people know that you're doing it. So they're working on some newspaper articles, some brochures. They did a community outreach letter, which we actually distributed to all the homeowners last week. That was an interesting experience walking around with some high school kids in the neighborhood, trying to get them to act appropriately and things like that. That was pretty interesting. High school kids, they think they're really cool. It's that high school too, and I'm just like, I didn't act like that, did I? I'm pretty sure I didn't. But anyway, so they wrote out a letter, and somehow Kurt Killigrand from the Record Courier has already gotten a hold of it and wants to publish it. So we're going to work on an article to kind of get that going. But we have engaged the community, which I'll talk about in the next task. So they're not completely unaware of the project, but it was written by the high school students, 2 English classes, and they paired up and they all wrote several different letters, and we kind of picked which ones hit the best points. But they talked about the algae bloom, they talked about non-pollutant source pollution in the letters, they talked about fertilizer practices, picking up after animal waste, things like that when you're walking your dog, and how it all goes to the river untreated. And that, the project goes through 2023, but they hope that you will continue to do some of these practices going forward. It was really interesting. I only have received 1 call from a resident so far. And this is gonna sound terrible, but they just moved here in September from the Bay Area. I don't know why that's important, but I feel like that was. She called because she was concerned. She received this letter. She saw that algae blooms are harmful to drinking water, for plants and animals, and it can be toxic and things like that. So she was concerned that she should be buying bottled water for the rest of the year. And I was like, how do I say this nicely? If you have a boil water notice that your water is unsafe to drink, we don't do things differently here. You're not going to receive a letter on your door taped, written from a high school student. You're going to think about who you pay your water bill to. It's okay. They're just outreaching. You can totally drink your water. It's not coming straight from the Carson River, but anyways, pretty interesting feedback. But nonetheless, we got some outreach going. We got some feedback. Never know about people. There is an AutoCAD class, which is really cool. So they use AutoCAD where they can draw site plans and things like that. So we're working with that teacher. And this class probably has the biggest job. They're going to try to, with the input from the other classes, put together an actual site plan so that we can say, okay, this is our roadmap for what we're actually going to build around the storm drain for our LID project. So they're drawing up the whole thing. It's going to be a great experience for them. They have to draw something anyways. At least they'll draw something that will actually be implemented at their school. We have the environmental science and chemistry classes participating. They're going to do some water quality sampling. We did some pre-project sampling, and we'll sample throughout the project to see if we can get those nutrient levels to be reduced, nitrogen and phosphorus in particular. We have geoscience. They're going to work on some soil amendments. They're kind of into the soil stuff, and then they're also going to do the storm drain marking for us. And then we have the FFA class and ag, And they're basically going to do a little bit of outreach about the impacts of agriculture, and also assist us with the plant selection. Those classes actually do a plant sale every year at the farmer's market in town. And so they're already growing plants and things like that. It's more of like vegetables, but they're familiar with what types of species would work in our area. So those are all the different classes that we have participating, and hopefully we can get them all to cooperate. All right, so task 3 is the conservation landscaping workshop. We actually held that in, when was it? July 14th, I put it on there, that's good. So yeah, we held this event. See, this is the park with all the grass. That's where we held it at. And we actually got some really good feedback. We had a bunch of different groups there. CWSC was there, River Wranglers was there, Nature Conservancy, like who else was there? I can't remember all the different people were there. I was on crutches at the time, so it really hurt summer for me, but it was before the smoke, so that's good. But yes, we had a bunch of different groups there presenting about their various missions. And then Comstock Seed was there. We did a plant raffle. We probably had about 40 people there, and we had burgers and hot dogs that we were serving too. It was a great, wonderful event. I just sat in directing traffic because I couldn't walk or carry anything for anybody, but everyone was gracious. We got this wonderful letter from one of the residents to express their appreciation for the event, and they also told us, you know, that their small garden's going to get a makeover because of what they learned, and they're planting many more native varieties which are drought resistant and butterfly and bee friendly. And so it was a really nice surprise, you know, as a local government official, I usually only get feedback when someone is saying something negative. So to get something positive in the mail is really nice to hear. I'm just going to say that. So anyways, it was a very successful event. So when they got this letter from the kids at the high school, most of them had probably already received the original letter talking about the project. So that was a success, and hopefully we'll be able to do another one towards the end of the project. The 4th task is the water quality sampling. As I said earlier, we're actually taking it straight from the drop inlets to see about, you know, what kind of nutrients are in that water that's actually running off. We're hoping to be able to do some maintenance in this system before the last sampling as well, to see if that also makes a difference. So throughout it, we're hoping that we'll see a difference. I don't think that everything that we're doing is going to make it any worse. So there's that. And with that, I have no idea how much time I have, if I went too long or too short. But that's it. I guess no one's going to be bummed if they need to go home earlier.